I'm J.E. Wilds, a hunting guide that lives down in the pristine landscapes of New Zealand. Join my team and I on our dream hunts as we hunt the wild places our wilderness has to offer. Welcome to the J.E. Wilds podcast. Thanks for joining us, guys. Guess what? We're doing it. You've been asking for a podcast and we're finally doing it. So welcome. I'm Joe Edlington, your host for the podcast, the guy you see on the videos, the idiot that walks around pretending he knows how to hunt. So think of the podcast like the book version of a movie. So you're always going to get far more detail. It's far more in-depth when you read the book and then you watch the movie and you basically get the highlights. So these podcasts are going to be the in-depth version of our YouTube series, our hunting series, or our fishing series. I'm going to base these podcasts around adventures, like the actual trips themselves. I personally like to listen to podcasts where we're recapping hunts and stuff like that, and that's what this is all about. We're going to be recapping our hunts, our episodes on YouTube, and just the fine details of it, man. Like, you're going to hear the behind-the-scenes stuff, the gear, the goals, everything. So this particular podcast, this is episode 001. This is the first freaking episode in the whole entire J.E. Wilds podcast. You listen to number one, guys. Pretty cool. On this episode, we're going to be talking about basically the biggest hunt of my year. So it's 2023, the first hunt for the season. I'm calling the biggest hunt for my season. Like, it's gnarly. It's going to be a big one. And this whole podcast is the build up to that hunt. So you'll hear a bit of road noise. While I'm recording this podcast, I was in my vehicle driving to the hunt. I was days away from flying into the mountains. So this is like, I'm excited. This is the build up to it. I'm going to tell you about the goals. I'm going to tell you about the hunt plan, the location, like what we're actually going to be doing. And we're also going to be recapping gear, the gear I've chosen to bring into this. This is going to be a good podcast. This is basically the excitement building up to this huge hunt. So we're going to be talking all about it. So it's the first of many, guys. There's going to be more podcasts to follow this, breaking down the hunt, how it's going. I recorded them in my tent, so it's extremely fresh content. But this is number one, man. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I know you're going to enjoy it. All right, guys, let's start from the beginning. Today is day number 4. It's Wednesday today. Yeah, Wednesday. I left home on Sunday. So I've been on the road basically for 4 days now. I've covered some country. I've covered a lot of country. It's freaking, wow. All right, for you international guys, New Zealand is a smaller country, as you know. We can drive from the top to the bottom within 4 days or so. So pretty much home base for me is in the far north, the North Island. And my destination is it's not at the bottom of the South Island, but it's not too far off it. So I'm nearly driving the entire length of the country, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool if you think about it. So I left home about midday Sunday, and I've slowly been making my way down here. On the way down, stopping in at a few of the haunts at a few places. I've got a lot of friends spread around the country, so it's a really good opportunity to catch up with people. I ended up staying the first night. I stayed at Taupo. I just got some accommodation there, just pulled up in a hotel. Yeah, Monday morning, carried on down to Gerald and Brenda's. So Gerald Flutie, Joe Flutie's dad. Gerald's a real good friend of mine. So I always like to spend some time with the Fluties on the way through. So I actually went around there for lunch, and by the time I got down to Gerald's place, it was lunchtime. So we sat down, spun some yarns, myself, Gerald and Brenda, and yeah, it was good. It was real good. It's always good to catch up with those guys. So for those of you that don't know, Gerald owns a hunting outfitting business called Wildside Hunting Safaris, and that's he specialises in red stags, fallow bucks, Sika stags. Got some amazing Sika hunting, and tahr and chamois and all sorts. Basically, he does whatever you're looking for. So I used to guide for Gerald years ago. That's how I met Gerald way back in the day. I think I did probably six full seasons guiding for Gerald, and
nowadays we're tight. I'm part of the family. He's part of my family. So it's, always got to stop in and see Gerald and Brenda when I'm going through. So that was cool. We talked about what they've been up to lately. This time of year, it's obviously the peak of the season, the hunting season. So they've been flat out guiding. They've got some amazing animals lately. So Gerald was showing me some photos of some of the stags and bucks they've been getting lately, and far out, man. He's had some very cool hunts lately. So that's awesome to see. So yeah, they've been busy, but I guess lucky for me, when I'm going through there, they were actually in between clients. It was a Sunday, clients went home on the Saturday, and they were due to have another hunter join them, but he cancelled last minute on the day he was meant to be picked up. So that's a real shame. Didn't give Gerald any time to book another hunter. So there was like 3 days there, like currently right now, which is, the peak of the season, man. And he couldn't book it. So that's a real shame. But anyway, it's all good. I got to see them. We talked some stuff, caught up with some of the things we've been doing lately. So it was great. So after that, carried on down to Wellington, stayed the night in Wellington, and then I had my ferry. So the Inter-Islander ferry has had a lot of issues lately. Like, they've had a lot of breakdowns and stuff like that. You've probably heard of it, but there's been all sorts of dramas. I actually booked my ferry crossing a long time ago just to secure it. I had originally booked it for the 28th of March at 1 p.m. sailing. A week ago, I got an email saying, unfortunately, and as I was reading this, I was like, oh no, has it been cancelled? But they were saying, unfortunately, they've had to move my ferry crossing forward. So instead of crossing at 1 p.m, which was a good time for my travel, I was then crossing at, I think it was like 8 a.m. or something. So that's what made me stay in Wellington. So the Wellington is where the ferry is. So I stayed the night there, so I didn't have to travel early in the morning through Wellington traffic. So it was good. It was good. Anyway, pretty lucky that my ferry wasn't cancelled, because it's been the bookings have been crazy lately. Like, I've heard of people getting cancelled and not being able to get across. Well, in fact, I was literally just speaking to Roslyn from the Mountain Safety Council. I just spoke to her on the phone. She's going into her and her partner and party are going into a ballot block on the west coast that I've done quite a bit of hunting in, and she was keen to pick my brains on some ideas and stuff like that. So I just spoke with her about that, and she was telling me that they were due to cross on the ferry today, but their ferry had been cancelled completely. So that's just gutting for them. She said that they managed to get flights to fly across, and luckily they had a vehicle on the other side to that they could use, which was handy. But yeah, just pain in the butt. Sounds like a lot of hunters coming down have had to rethink their plans and getting down there, but I guess that's all part of it, man. So luckily I made it across to the South Island. After the ferry, I made my way down to Christchurch. I stayed the first night down in the South Island in Christchurch for the reasoning that I needed to get a few bits and pieces for my camera gear. And I may as well tell you, I get a lot of questions asking about camera gear. So what I needed some new SD cards, and the ones I'm running are the UHS 2 cards. They're a high speed card. And I'll tell you what, I went to 4 freaking shops before I found the cards I'm after. No one had them, and there's quite a few photography specialised shops in Christchurch, but yeah, it was a mission. And I sort of thought that it wasn't even going to happen there at one point. But anyway, I managed to find 4 of them. Now, these cards are not cheap. They're expensive cards due to the fact of what they are, a high-speed card. So I think it was $1,800 for the 4 cards. The cards are just under $500 each. So I bought 4 of those, and I also got TRS cable for the microphone to camera. It's just a little audio cable. I needed a new one. So I managed to get that stuff in Christchurch, which is very good, because I was hoping I was going to be able to get that before this first trip, because I wanted to have heaps of space, heaps of memory, heaps of storage, so that I could film more than I need to film and not be worrying, not be restricted about capturing footage when in the back of my mind I'm worried about how much space I've got left. So now I should have more space than I'm going to use, which is exactly what you want when you're going in on a big trip like this. So Christchurch. I've just left Christchurch. Before I left, I stopped into Ballinger's Hunting and Fishing there and caught up with a few of the fellas in there. So I got to see Nick. Had a good chat with all the guys in there. Always like to see the guys in there when I'm coming through. That's always really good. Had a look at some stuff. Nearly bought some stuff, but I didn't, because I don't really need to buy stuff at the moment. I've sort of organised all my gear prior, and I'll get into gear shortly. But anyway, so right now, guys, I'm on the drive. I'm looking out the windscreen directly into mountains, and there is a fresh dusting of snow on those mountains, which is pretty rare for this time of year. It doesn't happen that often. It does happen, but yesterday we had a big cold front move up the country, and it dumped quite a lot of snow. So for March, this is pretty rare weather. I'll get into why it is good weather later, but yeah, very cool to see a big dumping of snow around. And actually, where I am right now, I've just gone through Tekapo not too long ago. But yesterday, a friend of mine, Moana, was sending me some videos. Her and her partner were driving through Tekapo, and it was snowing. There was snow everywhere, all over the cars. So it's crazy, real crazy. All of that lower lying stuff that they would have been seeing yesterday is melted away. There's none around me now, but in the mountains ahead, it's she's looking pretty white up there, which is crazy. It's crazy, and I was not expecting that this time of year. So to let you know where I am, I'm just coming up to Lake Ohau. Twisel's not far away. Speaking of Twisel, Rob, if you're listening to this, sorry brother, I'm not going to call in and see you. I'll see you on the way back though, is my plan, but you have to say hi to the family for me. And I'm just going to sneak past without you even knowing. But on the way back, man, you better have a good dinner plan, because we're doing it. So look at that. Right now I've just crested the hill and I'm looking over the blue lake right now. It's freaking unbelievable, guys. Yeah, so the plan now is I'm heading to Wanaka, and I'm going to a mate's place, Zim. You probably seen Zim on some old videos on the fishing stuff. Zim owns New Zealand Taxidermy. Good friend of mine. I'm going to be staying with Zim for the next, I think, 2 or 3 nights, just basically while I get prepped for my trip coming up. So while I'm in Wanaka, I want to be seeing Joe Fluidy. He's down here. Now Joe, he's basing down here at the moment, so he got offered after our last year's season, the 2022 season, he got offered an amazing opportunity, full-time job with an outfitter in Wanaka. So offered Joe a really good job, and Joe accepted it. And so Joe's now guiding and filming international hunters that are coming over and hunting stags and stuff like that. Yeah, Joe's down there, and he's working like a freaking beast, and having a good time. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Joe over the next couple of days before I go into the mountains myself. And then tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to head down to Queenstown, and I'm going to catch up with the man himself, the old Jack Russell. And Jack, old cobber of mine, if I didn't go and see him, I'd never hear the end of it. But I'm going to go and see him. I'm looking forward to it. Probably go out for dinner in Queenstown, and it's going to be good. I've got a few things to get from Jack's. Jack is a co-owner at Hunting and Fishing Queenstown, so I always buy a few things while I'm in there. There's always stuff I need, and right now I'm actually going to get some dehydrated food. I'll just get a mixture of what's there, what he's got on the shelves, and because I need some more. I've got quite a lot with me, but I need more, so I'm just going to buy some little bits and pieces like that, and then hoping to go up and shoot the rifles or test the rifles with Dan at Mountain Precision up on his range, just to make sure the rifles are dialed in. And speaking of rifles, like I've got 2 with me right now. I've brought 2 rifles down here. I'm still on the fence which one I'm going to use, and I don't know which one I'm going to use. I've got my old trusty 300 Winchester Magnum, which is the Bergara Mountain 2.0. You know, I've pretty much used that all the time lately. You've seen it over the last couple of years on all of our videos. Basically, it's my go-to rifle. So I've got that 300 Winchester Magnum, but then I've also got my new rifle, which I haven't actually taken on a hunt yet. It's a Bergara Crest, and it's a 6.5 Creedmoor. Really nice rifle. I've got a Leupold VX5 on both of them. But yeah, the Crest I haven't hunted with yet. So it's kind of like, man, this is new. It's cool. Do I want to be taking that on the trip? I'm uncertain. I'm on the fence. So potentially I'll shoot both of them in. I'll definitely be putting a shot through the Bergara, the 300 Win Mag, just to see how just to make sure it's good. And then, yeah, we might zero in the 6.5, and I don't know, I'll make a decision later. But suiting to what I'm actually hunting and where I'm going, more than likely I'll take the 300, just because that's a caliber that I feel more confident in that caliber, you know, taking on a hunt like this, rutting big red stags, you know. So yeah, we'll see. Still to be decided about the rifle, but I've got 2 with me, and I wouldn't mind testing them out on the range while I'm in Queenstown. Dan's range is just in Queenstown, so it's easy, and I like to shoot my rifles in there before I go on the trips, just to make sure they haven't been bumped in transit. So a good thing about staying with Zim is his taxidermy business I'd say it's the biggest. I'd like to know, but I would say it would be the biggest taxidermy business in the country. And he's dealing with local stuff, so local Kiwi hunters, but then he's also doing a lot of big outfitter. He's doing a lot of the outfitters work. So he's someone that knows what's happening in the wild and all over the place. He knows where they're roaring, where they've just started roaring, because people are bringing in all these animals. So he knows what's happening. He's got the knowledge, old Zimothy. So yeah, it's going to be good staying with Zim. I'll hear some inside knowledge of what's been going on lately. But as I've been making my way down the country, it's been real interesting, man. The different reports on how the rut's kicking off. So it's the rut, it's the roar. We call it the roar here in New Zealand. It's the breeding time, the rut. It's the most exciting time for us hunters. So as I've been making my way south, I've been getting different reports. So further north, they've been roaring a little bit. The top of the South Island, they've been roaring for a week to 10 days already, to this point now. But in the Canterbury region, I got told today that even the farmed stags, which don't normally, they normally roar a lot earlier, they haven't long been going. And then also the wild stags have basically started within the last day or so. So yeah, we're still we're just coming into it, I reckon. And where I'm hunting, so I'll get into the location later, shortly, but where I'm hunting, the stags generally rut later over there than anywhere. So it's honestly shaping up to be a pretty amazing setup. I'll get into why I think it's amazing shortly. So the stags are going. They're starting to go. It's only going to get really good within the next, week to 10 days to 2 weeks. It's going to be pumping. So that's very exciting. Very, very exciting. I've literally just come out of, I did a 5-day, or 6-day fishing trip last week, filming for the fishing channel, J Wild's Fishing. So that was really good. It was solo. I was in the Stabicraft and I just bounced my way around islands and things, and yeah, it was good. Living off the ocean, caught some big kingies. So it was a good trip. I got back from that on the Friday, So I had Friday night with Catherine and River. I had Saturday to pack for this trip and obviously spend time with Catherine and River. And then Sunday, about lunchtime, I left to start coming down. So, you know, I was home for like two days roughly before coming down here. So she's been pretty hectic at the moment for the old schedule, but it's good. It's that time of the year. And yeah, I'm sort of used to it by now, I suppose. One thing you guys might not know yet, it's not real public, but 8 weeks ago, Catherine and myself became parents. Our daughter was born 8 weeks ago, roughly. And yeah, it's a big change for us, obviously. Massive change. It's an incredible moment. I'm now a father, which is something I never thought would happen, but I wanted to happen at some point. But that's, yeah, pretty cool. Big turn of events for us. Amazing. Her name's River Autumn Edlington. And yeah, I just lost for words, man. Like, it's all you fathers out there will know what I'm talking about. It's a pretty special feeling. The first little while is tough work. What they tell you about the sleepless nights and all that, they're not joking. It's a legit thing. So take my hat off to Catherine. She's a super mum. You know, like I've had to be all over the place with work, with filming, and Catherine has just been amazing. So hat off to Catherine. She's been incredible with it, and yeah, that's what's going on at home in our personal life. But yeah, pretty cool. So that's the reason I'm here by myself in the car. Catherine's not with me. She's back home with River, and I'm running solo, guys. Solo ranging it down here. It's going to be a different season this year for me. Joe Flutie will be, you know, he's obviously working with Sean at Exclusive, and you know, I come to the decision where it's like, you know, do I get another guy in to help me film, or do I just run solo? I know historically my solo videos have been some of my best videos as far as engagement on YouTube. I know you guys seem to really like that solo aspect, and I personally love doing the solo adventures. I used to love it even more when I have my old dog, old Boise, with me, but obviously, you know, he's not around anymore. So to go in and do these trips by myself is still something I really enjoy. And I think, like, I don't know if I would replace Joe, because part of me and Joe working together is, you know, we've known each other forever and we're like brothers. So it's kind of, yeah, I don't know, just having Joe with me on the adventures was as like a camaraderie thing more than anything, you know. So anyway, we'll find out. We'll find out if I get another guy in to help me with the cameras, but we'll see how these first two hunts go before I make that decision. And yeah, my schedule, so it's Wednesday today. On Saturday, I will be flying into my block. So I'll tell you about the hunt. This is very exciting, very, very exciting. It's the Roar. I've got a ballot block for the west coast of the South Island. Very, very awesome spot. I've been in here before. It's a very tough hunt, but I'm very pumped to have it. And the reason being is that I've got it for period 2. So period 2 in today's schedule, so they've altered the date slightly in the last, I think it was 2 years ago they changed the date layout of the periods, but period 2 in today's template is, in my opinion, when I want to be in the hills. I'm going to see the peak of the Roar within that week. I'm going to see a lot of roaming action, like roaming stags on the move, looking for action, looking for hinds. But I'm also going to have, you know, those big dominant stags still holding hinds. They haven't disappeared yet. So yeah, I think period 2 to me that's my preference. And yeah, that's what I've got. I've got period 2. Now I didn't draw a block. I was unlucky and I didn't get successful with drawing a block myself. So I kept an eye on the DOC website. I emailed DOC and I just put my name out there that I'm looking for a block. And one day I saw on the available blocks part of the website, there was this particular block available. It had been handed in for period 2, and I was like, I'm in there. I instantly booked it before anyone snapped it up, and yeah, it's like the block itself, I've been in there once. Me and Joe Fluidy went in there. We both said we would probably never come back to this block. I'll tell you why in a second, but this block come up, period 2, and I thought, bugger it. It's in the peak of the time. I know it. Let's just do it. It'll secure me a nice area to hunt. Let's just do it. So I booked it. This block is predominantly wilderness. So wilderness with a capital W, designated wilderness zone. I think it's about 14,000 hectares in size. It's a big mountain valley, so there's a big river running through the center, and throughout the river there's like many big clearings, big meadows that are boundaried by big, heavy, old-growth beech forest that, to paint a picture, imagine a river running through the center. On the edge of the river, on all the bends, on all the wide parts, you've got big grassy meadows. The meadows are split into little islands of bush in amongst the meadows, and around the edges of the meadows, you've got thick, heavy, old-growth beech forest, jungle rainforest looking stuff that slowly, gradually climbs in altitude and then hits the mountain walls and just climbs vertically really quickly. So the whole river is surrounded by mountains, and it's wild country, man. It's real gorgy. There's real gnarly. It's just a rough place, a wild place, just a true wild place. There's no tracks. There's no easy access to anywhere. It's true wilderness. It's kept to its original state. It's not modified in any way. So very cool. Wilderness zones to me are very amazing. My concession for filming, my commercial concession, I am able to hunt these zones under certain rules and stuff. So anyway, it's good. The beauty about the raw is in these zones, they give you the chance, if you've got the ballot, they give you one access point by helicopter. So for 4 weeks of the year, you can land a helicopter within this zone. And they've got a designated landing site that's only available to be used during the raw time, so during these ballot times. So long story short, 4 times of the year you can get in there by helicopter. And to walk in there is an absolute mission. Like, I know a few guys that have done it, it's an absolute mission. So not many people will do it. There's plenty more easier spots to go to. So anyway, I'm lucky enough to have this block for the raw, so I can access it by helicopter. I can fly in, I can be dropped off with all my gear, and then left to my own hunting for the whole week. And then at the end of the week, I can be picked up back at that designated landing zone. So the designated zone is right at the bottom end of the block. In my opinion, it's not really where I'm going to be focusing on hunting. It's literally going to be a drop-off point, and then the hunting that I'm going to be doing is further afield. So, but to be able to access it by helicopter is pretty freaking cool. Very cool, actually. Yeah, I think like the way I'm going to hunt it is I'm going to take in a whole nother kit of gear, so like a base camp kit. So when I get dropped off, and I think too, by the way, I think Scott Rogers, a good friend of mine who owns Heli Rural Methven, he's actually going back down to Haast, and he's going to be flying for Heli Services for the raw. He's going to still be helping out. Like, obviously, he used to be the base manager for Haast Heli Services for many years, and during this time of the year where they're doing back-to-back flights, and many of them for the raw hunters, Scott's going down there to help them out on the Saturday. So yeah, I've put my hand up to get Scott to fly me in, because it'd just be like old times, man. So I'm excited to see Scott. That's really cool. So I'll get Scott to drop me off at the spot, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a base camp. So I'll be setting up it's a Hubba Hubba, MSR Hubba Hubba 3-person. I'll be setting that up, and that tent there is just going to stay in that clearing, and it's going to be loaded with a whole lot of supplies. I'll get into the gear that I'm packing for this trip shortly, but this base camp is literally a base camp. It's going to be just left alone, and I know that there's always supplies there that if I need it, I can always come back to get those supplies or whatever. And it's going to be set up right next to the helipad, or where the helicopter can land. That's the plan anyway. So the day I fly in on the Saturday, there's due to be some pretty rough, wild rain. Hoping that we can sneak in before it gets really bad, because ideally I want to be setting up the tent before it buckets down, basically. I don't want all my gear to be wet and put in the tent wet. I want to be able to set the tent up and then put all my gear in there dry, so that, you know, throughout the week of the 7-day hunt, all my gear's just sitting there dry, sheltered in the tent. Now, I'll tell you the story about last time I went in there. So there's actually a video on YouTube about this. So I think it was two seasons ago, 2 Raws ago. I drew this block through the ballot system, and so myself and Joe Fluidy, we went on in there, and as we landed, you know, like we did a lot of e-scouting leading up to this point, and we figured out where we wanted to go, where we didn't want to go, and all that sort of stuff. But I will admit, man, like once we got in there, it was a whole lot different than what we thought. And it sort of just goes to show that you can do all the e-scouting in the world, but until you're actually in there, you don't really get a real good look at the land and what you're hunting until you're in there, obviously. So a lot of the places that we thought we could get to, we couldn't in the end. So, but luckily we sort of, you know, luckily we'd really researched the area, so we knew there was many backup plans. So anyway, we landed, Scott flew off, and there's deer sign all over the landing zone, fresh, you know, deer prints, everything. And it was just starting to drizzle, and we were due to have really, really heavy rain that day, the next day, the next day, the next day, and the next day, like gnarly rain. Like it's the crappiest forecast you've ever seen. So we quickly set up the tents in the rain. We quickly fired all our gear in, and then the rain just bucketed down. And long story short, I think it was like day number 5, the rain finally passed over, and we woke up to nice weather, which is, yeah, pretty miserable, sitting in a tent, you know, not being able to do much. We'd get outside, we'd listen, we'd roar in between showers, but it was a ton of rain, and the river had risen to like raging brown torrent. So it was, yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy first part of our week. And because this is day 5, we've literally got 2 days left of our hunt. So yeah, pretty unnerving. We're a little bit worried about this. What we ended up doing is we left one of the tents at the main base, and we packed up our packs with enough gear to survive for the remainder of the trip. Then we were just going to do a walk out to these big clearings, which was, I don't know, probably 4 hours walk or something away. We were going to hunt them, and then we were going to stay out there, and then we were going to hunt our way back to the base camp, and then obviously be picked up. That was our plan. I know we just left the base camp, and across the river from us, a hind and a yearling walked out. So we're like, this is the first deer we've seen for the whole trip. We're like pretty frothing on it, to be honest. We sort of set up, waiting, hopefully a stag might be there. The hind kept looking back in the bush behind her, and it was sort of like indicating to us that, you know, there could be something with her. And for that time of the year, like you'd almost guarantee it. But we're sort of wondering if he maybe knew we were there, so he didn't want to come out into the open. But the hind and the yearling, they just were feeding their way along and went for a little drink and stuff like that. And it was just one of those cool encounters. You know, we got it on film and just watched them mosey on and disappear. It was a cool start to it anyway. So after that, we entered the bush. Now this bush there's no tracks. It's it was fairly flat, but it was reasonably thick and it was wet. So, we got pretty drenched straight away. And then eventually we got into a part of the valley which is just straight gorge. And it was dangerous, it was slow, and it was hard going, man. And there's a whole lot of deer right there. I'm just driving past a whole lot of deer on a farm, but yeah, they're all running around acting like they're rutting and stuff. Pretty cool to see. That's what we want to see next week, guys. Yeah, so anyway, what was I saying? This gorge. So this gorge was, I think it was only the space of 2 to 3 kilometers distance, maybe 2 kilometers. But it literally took us probably 4 hours to get through, I reckon. And we got to the other end, and it was, I'll tell you what, we were happy to be through it. It was not good. It was not fun. I'm definitely not looking forward to tackling that alone, but I'll just have to take my time and be careful. Just as we got to the other end of it, before it opened out into the clearings, we were looking for a spot to set up our camp, because we wanted to camp back in the bush. We didn't want to camp anywhere near the clearings. We didn't want to sort of ruin the limited hunting we've got ahead. So we managed to find a reasonably flat spot on a bench in the bush. It's under tree cover, so it's not sunny. It's not really the ideal spot when you want to dry stuff out, but it was the best opportunity to not ruin what we have ahead. So we're setting up the tent, and we realised there's a tree in the middle of it that had been destroyed by a stag fresh. So this tree had been ripped up by the stag's antlers, and it was fairly high off the ground. So it must have been a half decent animal, which me and Joe are pretty excited to be camping in a stag's little pad. We're wondering, as we're setting up the tent, we're like, imagine if he comes down here tonight and starts thrashing up trees and all that sort of stuff and roaring. It'd be pretty exciting. So spirit's pretty high at this point. Once we've come out of the gnarly gorge and we find this sort of sign and this spot to camp, we're feeling pretty good. So that evening, after camp, after a feed, we snuck out to the edge of the bush, where we could look over some clearings. And instantly we could see deer sign. We could see tracks through the sand on the edge of the river. We could see browsing in places, but it was evident there was deer around. So we set up on a little bit of a hump in the bush where we could overlook that, and we sat there till dark listening. Every now and again we let out a roar off memory, but we didn't hear anything. We didn't see anything. So not really how we wanted that first evening to go, to be honest. We went back to camp after dark and woke up in the morning and pretty much did the same thing. Went and sat in the same spot just to see what happens in the morning there, because as you know, sometimes deer movement in an evening is a lot different to a morning sort of movement pattern. So we wanted to just check out both, and it was much the same. We didn't see anything. So the next plan from there is we wanted to make our way further round. So we slowly snuck our way round the edge of the clearing to open up more clearings. And I think it was like, it was probably a few hundred meters up the river. We set up in amongst these logs. Now these logs were just on the edge of an island of trees that there was an old riverbed running to our left that was dry, and the main river was to our right, and that was raging. So out to our left is like a big sandy open area, and there's just deer tracks all over it, man. Obviously through the night, it looked like the deer were moving through the night. It was a full moon. We're in the peak of the full moon, and it was, once that rain had finally passed over, we had really clear skies. So, in a situation like this, the deer often go fully nocturnal because they can see so well at night, and a lot of the activity is after dark. And it was evident that that's what was happening in this area, going by all the fresh prints that we were seeing. So we sat up on these logs, like we tucked in these logs, and I think every now and again we were doing just a little quiet roars just to listen and see what we could hear. But I think it was much the same. We didn't see anything, nothing come out. Yeah, we ended up going back to camp. In the morning, we went and set up in those logs again. Overnight, there had been some fresh stag tracks over top of our boot tracks from where we'd walked the previous night to get to the same location. So yeah, it was just more evidence that they were nocturnal. We set up in these logs and we did a few quiet calls, I remember, and we looked out to our left across the dry stream bed, and there was a spiker, a red spiker, which is it's a young male red deer. He popped out of the bush and he was looking over at us like, you know, what's going on over here sort of thing. We were tucked in the trees, couldn't really make us out that well, but he knew we were there and he knew something was there. So he stood there looking at us for quite a while, and then eventually just moved his way back into the trees, and then we heard him sort of just walking away. So that was pretty cool. He was, I don't know, I feel like he was like 40 yards from us, you know, 40, 50 yards, something like that, pretty reasonably close. We carried on sitting there, and then it was coming in sort of like around lunchtime. We pulled out of those logs and we just moved backwards a little bit into a little depression in the grass where we could sit down in there and nothing around us could see us. The river was really loud, so all our sound was sort of like hidden by the river noise. And we decided that, you know, we'll go down here, we'll have some lunch. So here we are, like boiling up some water. We're about to have some lunch, and every now and again we'd poke our head up and have a look over the clearings that were, you know, in front of all these logs and across the river. And I remember this one particular time, I looked up and I could see the tops of antlers walking along on the other side of the river. That I just got a glimpse of antlers. And I said to Joe Fluidy, I was like, stag, just across. So we quickly got back into the logs, kept quietly, obviously. We couldn't see him. Across the other side was really tall grass, you know, like it's overhead high. It's like six foot grass, 7 foot grass. It's sort of really tall grass. And we're just like looking in there, hoping to see the stag again. And then eventually he pops up. He walks right up to the edge of the river, and we're watching him. I think I get him on video at this point. A younger stag, probably like a 3-year-old stag, and he's just on the prowl, man. He's just literally on the prowl, searching for action, searching for females. So very cool to see. I think he was like I can't remember what he was now. Maybe like it's an 8-pointer. You know, just a younger stag. So we weren't going to shoot him. It's just good to experience these encounters. And so we just watched him, and he started making his way through the tall grass and, you know, just having a good time, listening, smelling, just looking for action. So eventually we started calling to him, doing a couple of hind calls, which brought him, you know, so that you could see him spark up, and that brought him right up against the river edge, and he was looking across, like, you know, you could tell that he was tempted to come over, but he didn't cross over, but he was thinking about it. Anyway, very cool encounter. We just watched him disappear. He moved his way into that tall grass and he just vanished, basically. Yeah, this is like midday, man. This is like, I think it was about 1 o'clock, give or take. The sun's like directly above us, but yeah, midday movement. So it was a good sign. It was a really good sign. So evening time comes along, and we're thinking this is going to be good. This is going to be, we're in a good spot. We're in a good location. This evening is going to be a good hunt. So as the evening set in, we made sure we were in a prime spot. We're a bit further up the river now. We're on the next clearing, which we could see from back at the logs, but we couldn't see properly onto it. You know, we could just sort of see like the edge of it. We could see the top of it, but if there was any deer coming out on it, we wouldn't have been able to see them from back there. So I think at this stage, this is our last hunting night. The next day we have to hike back to camp, otherwise we're going to miss our flight. So this is our last chance. And here we are on the edge of this clearing. There's deer sign all over the edge of it, and things are looking really good. We're sneaking along. There's some paradise ducks. The paradise ducks, for you guys, you international guys that don't know what they are, paradise ducks they're a type of shell duck. They're, how do I explain it? They're like a deer hunter's worst nightmare. They have incredible vision. They've got the sharpest eyes out there, and they are very vocal. So if they see you, which they will pick you out a long way off, and we've even had them pick us out while we're deep in the bush moving. So they're incredible vision. When they see you, they start honking, and they honk loud and they honk non-stop, and they fly, and then they're flying around above you, circling you, honking. And what they do is they basically alert everything in the vicinity that there's predators in the area. So paradise ducks are the thing you do not want to encounter when you're sneaking out to an amazing clearing of an amazing meadow on your last chance on the last evening. So both Joe Fluity and I were just like, man, this is not good. This is not what we want. And we had to do a big ninja maneuver to get around these, I think it was 3 of them. But we had to we pulled out all the stops. We did not want them to see us. So we went the long way. We snuck through all the bush. What did we do? We belly crawled. We did whatever we needed to do, we did it, all right? And eventually we got around them safely. So now we're at the base of this tree. It's a pretty big tree. This tree is kind of in the middle of the big clearing. Ahead of the tree is the main bush edge. It's where the main old growth forest meets the clearing. So this is where the deer are going to come out from. On the other side of the tree, on the other side of the clearing, on the meadow, is the river. So if there's any deer going to come out, they're going to come out in front of this tree. You know, it's maybe 100 meters, 100 yards or so. Yeah, it's roughly 100 yards from the bush edge. And me and Joe were thinking, do we set up here? What do we do? And then Joe Fluity had the idea about, why don't we climb the tree? So we looked at each other like, why not? So next thing you know, we're up in this tree. And we climbed up probably 2/3 of the way up. We're fairly high, but we've got a really good sort of branch system where we can sit up there nicely. There's lots of cover around us, lots of big branches, lots of foliage and stuff. But we've got some really good shooting windows. We can see the entire bush edge. We're elevated, so we're looking down on all the bush edge. And basically, imagine the most perfect setup you can ever come across. This is what we had, by fluke. Joe had a really good spot to film from, just to my left, and I had a really, really good spot to rest the rifle on, which was my 300 Winchester Magnum. And yeah, basically the perfect spot. The wind was perfect. The wind at this point had started sucking down the valley, so it was in our face. It was coming down the river, into our face and behind us. So everything out in front of us was now, it was the perfect setup. It was the absolute perfect setup. So we're sitting there. It's getting later. It's an hour before dark. Nothing's showing itself. We're thinking, man, surely we would have seen something by now. Half an hour before dark. The prime time's really kicking in now. The shadows are getting long. The birds are doing those evening choruses that they do. Still nothing there. To be honest, it was starting to look like it wasn't going to happen. Both of us were starting to think, man, this is not the outcome we wanted. This is not going to work. At this point, it's dark. It's nearly too dark to shoot or see. It's getting like that last bit of light, which is a very good time of the day, but when you haven't seen anything yet, it's not a good feeling. Eventually, right on dark, a hind appears out of the small stream ahead of us on the other side of the clearing, 100 or so meters away. She's walking down through the water. She comes around the corner and she's coming straight for us, straight for the big clearing that we're sitting on. Me and Joe are just like, oh, what the heck, here we go, just watch. Next thing you know, a fawn, like last year's fawn, comes following around the corner, following her. And this is good. This is what we want. Then around the corner, big stag pops around the corner. Walking all staunch, He's walking through the water. It's like the most amazing sight. This encounter was like, you dream of it. And we were just so lucky to be in amongst it. Big stag, following close against the fawn, following where the hind's going. They're heading straight for us. So Joe rolls the camera. I get the rifle sort of ready and on them, and we wait for them to come. They sort of keep following that small stream, but at this point they're fully facing forward, facing us. So ideally I'm looking for a more broadside shot. I mean, it's close range with the 300, but I still want to take an ethical shot. And as their path was taking them, they were going to go broadside 100 meters in front of us. So we waited for that. The wind was good. Everything was good. We had enough. We had a few minutes left of good light, so it was going to happen. So we let them come right in. And as soon as that stag got broadside, and as soon as he stopped, I pulled that trigger. So the bullet's in the air, hits the stag instantly drops. Instantly, on the spot. The hind and the yearling take off, they run, they're gone into the bush, but the stag's on the spot, dropped. So like, you can imagine what me and Joe are feeling right now. We're pumped. We can see it. It's there, the perfect shot, not going anywhere. Big stag. Last few minutes of the last night. You know, there's a lot of stuff building up to this point. So we give it a few minutes. We climb down out of the tree and then we carefully walk over there. Far out, man. Like, the feeling that we felt walking up on that stag was next level. Like, we're pumped. Big stag. I was so stoked with it. Joe was so stoked with it. We were just pumped. We ended up whipping the guts out. We took a couple of just quick rough photos in the dark. We took the guts out. So we sort of propped them up, and the plan was to head back to camp very early in the morning. We were going to come back and we were going to take some good photos, some good quality photos, take the meat, and then we were going to hike back to our base camp and wait for the chopper. So this was the plan. It was pretty hard going that next day. We got some amazing photos. One of my favorite standout ones was actually Joe snapped one of me crossing the river. I had the stag on my back, the head and meat and stuff, and rifle and all the things, and crossing the river. And I think I was like knee deep in the water. The sun was nice, the surroundings were nice. It's just a great photo, like one of those really cool photos. So yeah, get back to the base camp, we can relax. But that's the first time we went in there. Both me and Joe Fluity were like, you know, we probably would never go back in there. I don't think we'd ever want to go back in there. But here I am, I'm going back in. 2 years later, I know the secrets of it. You know, I've done it, I've hunted it before, I've got an idea. But I'm going back, man. I'm going back in there, and I'm actually incredibly excited about doing so. So I think, it'd be really interesting. I don't know, man. Like, it's going to be really interesting to see what it's like, how it's changed. Like, period one is now, as I'm recording this podcast. So first period. So there's potentially a group of guys in there right now. But I was talking to the helicopter company, Heli Services, and they didn't fly anyone in there last Saturday. So unless the guys walked in, which is possible, but they said highly unlikely due to the weather, and obviously they've been hounded by this weather. So fingers crossed for me, guys, and for you guys as well, because you'll benefit from this trip. Fingers crossed, there has been no one in here. There's no one in there at the moment. So when I go in next week, it's all untouched, and it's all wild, and you know, it hasn't been hunted since last roar or something crazy like that. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, man. And there's a fairly high chance that that's actually what's happened. The weather's been so crappy this week. If anyone was meant to hunt it, they probably might have bailed on the idea, gone somewhere else. So I'm going to know pretty quickly when I get in there if it's had hunters in there, because you know there'll be boot prints around and all the sandy bits and stuff. So we're going to find out. But I am hoping I'm really, really hoping that I'm going to be the first person in there for the year, especially for the raw. Yeah, my goals for this week. So my goals are to get a nice mature animal. I want to get an old animal, 8 years plus. It doesn't have to be the most giant trophy, but I want something that I'm happy with. I want a great hunt. I want amazing footage, and I want a mature animal. So that's what my goal is. I'm not going in there to look for the next New Zealand record stag. I'm going in there to make an incredible video series for you guys, have an incredible experience of a hunt, and hopefully take a nice, mature, old animal. That's the plan. The next thing I want to come from next week is I'm probably going to have, obviously, the climax episode, which is all going well, taking a nice big old animal, but I want to have some build-up episodes of, like, you know, what I've gone through to get to that point, you know, like day-to-day type of stuff. I want to have encounters of animals on those episodes, so, you know, like close encounters, calling deer in really close, where I pass on them, and just seeing rutting action of all sorts of animals. You know, I want to see a lot of animals, and I want to have a lot of encounters on film for you guys. So, you know, that's the secondary goal for me. And I'm hoping to get 2 to 3 episodes out of this trip. We'll just have to see how it goes. I know if the raw's really fired up and really kicked off, I'll definitely have a good chance at getting some cool content and making multiple episodes. But if it's dead quiet and there's nothing much happening, you know, potentially I might only end up having one. So the more the merrier. The more action we're all going to benefit from. You guys are going to have some cool stuff to watch, and I'm going to have a cool experience to document. So those are my goals. I'll talk a little bit about the gear that I'm taking now. So I'll get through the YouTube stuff, I get so many questions asking about gear and, you know, what gear is this and what am I taking and what do I recommend. So with these podcasts, I want to go more in depth in the gear I use myself personally, what I like to use, what I'm taking, and, you know, for those that are asking the questions, and a lot of them I don't get to reply to you, but through these podcasts I want to answer all those questions for you. So base camp. My base camp gear is Hubba MSR Hubba 3-person. That's going to be my base camp tent. Really good quality mountain tents. I'm going to have a Thermarest Mondo King sleeping mat for my base camp mat. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's a really big, really thick sleeping mat. It's very, very, very comfortable, but it's big and bulky. So it's sort of the thing that you'd fly in with. It's not the thing you'd fly camp with, or, you know, hunt with your camp on your back with. But for a helicopter drop-off point, it's, you know, if you got room, take it. So that's going to be my base camp mattress, and most likely that'll just stay rolled up, because I don't even know if I'm going to stay the first night at base camp yet. We'll see what happens, see how much rain we end up with. I'm going to have a whole lot more supplies at base camp. I'm going to have more power, so I'm going to have a whole lot of power banks just waiting there. I'm using the BioLite 20,000 milliamp power banks. They're like a grey with a yellow end. I've used them for 2 or 3 years now, and they're actually really good. So I have 6 of them. So I know that's a whole lot, but I'm running a whole lot of camera gear, and I'd rather have more than not enough. So that's what I'll leave at base camp. I'll leave a bunch of those in a dry bag, a little seal line dry bag, you know, just lightweight dry bag. And I'll always know that I've got spare power back at camp if I need it. Now, I'm going to leave food there. I'm going to leave, you know, a big store of food. It'll be dehydrated food. It'll be snacks, you know, like bars, muesli bars, things like that. There'll be, just sort of supplies, basically. It's the whole idea of a base camp is it's a supply camp. So I'm going to leave a lot of things there that I'm going to need at some point. If I don't use it, I don't use it. But if I need it, it's there. What else am I going to have there? I'll probably have some more clothing. So I'll have some more gear, some more clothing that just in case I need some backup stuff, I'll have it stored away there in another little Seal Line dry bag. Yeah, I'll have a chili bin, an esky, a cooler, depending on what part of the world you live in. So I've got a Yeti 65 litre. That'll be just left there. It'll probably be empty. It might have my food store in there. I'm not sure yet, but it's not going to have ice. It's basically just going to be sitting there. And then the idea is on the way out, I'll be filling that thing with meat for the helicopter. So that's the plan. That'll be there too. So a big Yeti chili bin. Yeah, that's probably about it. I might have my I've got that big MSR shelter, big camp shelter. It's just a big 2-pole fly. I'm going to have that there. I won't set that up though, I doubt. I'll probably just leave it packed away in the tent. Big chance I probably won't ever use it, but if I need it, it's there. May as well have it. And then I think that's probably about it. Oh, I'll have another spare pair of boots. So I'm going to take in 2 pairs of boots. I've got Zamberlan Lynx and I've got Zamberlan Guide GTX. So I'll leave one of those pairs of boots at the base camp. I don't know which ones yet. Probably be the Lynxes I'll leave there, but I really like both of those boots. So I guess I'll make that call later on, but it's always good to have a dry pair of boots if you need it. With a lot of river crossings, I'm going to get wet feet, no doubt. Even though I will have Crocs, but there will be times when my feet get wet, I'm sure. So yeah, having a spare pair of boots, even in case I have some damage or something, I always like to have a spare pair of boots if I can help it. So that'll be left back in the tent, out of the weather, and yeah, more gas canisters for the MSR cookers. And yeah, it's probably about it. There's probably a few more things, but I think that's the bulk of it. I'm going to have my Everly stock F1 mainframe, pack frame, and I've got a vapor pack on there. I've actually got a rifle scabbard now. Everly stock guys sent one over from USA for me to test out. So I've got a rifle scabbard that goes down in between the frame and the pack. So it's a new addition. Yeah, that's my pack system. And inside that, I'm going to have basically a whole set of gear that is an entire camp's worth. So I'm going to have my camp on my back. So I'm going to have another MSR hubba, but this time it's a 2-person tent. So it's the next size down. That's going to be in my pack. That's going to be my fly camping tent. I'm going to have another Thermarest mat, which this one's going to be an Xtherm, so Thermarest Xtherm, which is a mat that I really rate. I really, really like them. I've got a Thermarest sleeping bag as well, which is, it's down to 0 degrees, I think, or -6 or something. So it's sort of like it's not a heart of winter type bag, but it's a good bag. And it's a good bag for these conditions, these more temperate conditions. Yeah, so that's pretty much my sleeping arrangement. I've got no pillow because I'm going to have heaps of other stuff. So, I can always make a pillow out of a jacket or something. Jacket-wise, I've got my main jacket's going to be my Rab Valiance, which is a waterproof puffer. Incredible jackets, lightweight, waterproof, just they're a down-filled jacket, just unbelievable. That's going to be there, but there's a pretty high chance that jacket will just stay in my pack. I'm not sure how many times I'll use it. It's probably not going to be cold enough, but I'm going to have it there if need be. I'm going to have a rain jacket, which is the Rab Kangri GTX, which is that green jacket I normally run. Yeah, it's a good jacket. It's a lightweight, just an outer shell. So that'll be there for the wet days if I get any. And then I've got, for pants wise, I've got the Huntec Tussock pants, which are like an outer layer, waterproof. They're just a good heavy duty pant. I actually really like running them. I love tar hunting in them. There's a few adjustments that are in the pipeline for them, but as they are now, I enjoy them. So I've got those pants there, which, yeah, they'll either live in my pack or they'll live at the base camp. I'm not quite sure what I'll do with them yet, but I'll have them. Top layers, mid layers, I've got a Huntec shingle sweatshirt, which is just like a medium type, long sleeved, warm sort of jumper type garment. In their Kakariki camo, the new green camo, which is really, really nice camo. I love that camo. So I've actually got quite a lot of the Huntec stuff with me on this trip. that new Kakadiki camo it works very, very good, and I like the look of it. So I've got many items. I've got the Glacier Tech in Kakadiki as well, which is like a long sleeve, lightweight top, which to be honest I'll probably be wearing most of the time, and I'll probably do a lot of my hunting in that as like my main garment. What else have I got? So yeah, I've got the trail pants, the Huntec trail pants in Kakadiki, lightweight, so they've got a bit of stretch to them, not fleece. They're a nice pant. And then a couple of sets of thermals, which I don't know if I'll end up needing, but I'm going to have them on hand if need be. I've got a buff, it's a Yeti buff, just camo buff. And I've got my hunting and fishing JU Wilds hats, the ones I got made up for the show. So I'll be wearing one of those. Yeah, that's pretty much it for clothing. I've got a couple of other items I'll take in, but yeah, like I said, they may just stay back at base camp. Cooking wise, I'm going to take in my MSR wind burner, 1 litre, and gas canisters to suit. It's an ultra fast boiling system. I'm going to take a pan in so I can hopefully cook up some heart and some eye fillets and all the good stuff. And also, yeah, I'll just have a lightweight mug with me because I'll be smoking. The coffee's back in the morning, so I'll have a lightweight mug that just goes, basically goes in my pack, and I won't really feel it. Water bladder wise, I've got the Platypus 3 litre water bladder. It's got a hydration bladder. It's going to be my main water setup. I've got a Platypus water filtration system as well, so I'll probably use that. I mean, I should be using that. I never do, but I mean, I should be using it because if I got real crook from the water, it will be the end of the week. So yeah, I mean, I'm used to drinking out of creeks. Like at home, our water comes from the farm. It comes from the creek unfiltered. So I think people say I've got an iron gut, but I mean, you still don't want to get Giardia or something like that. Whether I'm immune to it by now, I don't know, but if I wasn't and I got Giardia in there, it would not be good. So I've got a water filter system that I'll have with me. Got a little first aid kit with a few essentials. I've got an EPIRB, which I believe everyone should always have, especially, whether you're going into a place like this or not, just have one. I've got an InReach. I've got, what else have I got? So my binos, I've got my Pro Guides, my Leupold Pro Guides. I have got an RX 1400 rangefinder, which actually I think they've just stopped making them, so amazing rangefinder, but the 1600s would be my recommendation if you're looking to buy a new rangefinder. Yeah, and that's in the Pro Guide Bino Bivy. There's a little Bino harness, Leupold one. It's got a little phone slot in the back, a couple of pockets on the side, on the front, and yeah, good spot for your binos. And my rangefinder just sits in a little pouch next to it, so that's my optics setup. Now, what else? What's next? BioLite headlamp. I've got 2 of those. Those BioLite headlamps I recommend them to anyone, man. They're freaking unreal. I can go the whole week and using it at night, every night, and it will still show near full % by the end of the week. That's what it's normally like for us. Their batteries are unreal. So yeah, recommend the BioLite headlamps to anyone that's thinking about a new headlamp. I'd go that over a lead lens or anything. Yeah, that's been working real well for us lately. And then I'll have my camera gear. So I'll have 2 cameras, 2 main cameras. I'll have a GoPro for a backup. I'll have a 360 camera. I'll have a couple of power banks. I'll have batteries. I'll have SD cards. I'll have all that stuff. Microphones, lab mics, all the stuff. There's going to be I hate to say it, but it's going to be like 10 kilos worth of camera gear, which is not going to be exciting. I'm going to have a couple of knives. I got a little replaceable blade Gerber. I've got a folding Gerber, and Gerald actually just gave me one of his old faithful knives that have been all over America that he built, a little Wildside knife. If you haven't seen Wildside knives, go and have a look at them. Gerald makes some incredible handmade knives. I'm trying to get him to stock the hunting and fishing stores, but he doesn't want to. He's probably listening to this, shaking his head. But anyway, they're the best knives on the planet, hands down. They just are a work of art. If you haven't seen them, go check them out. Wildside Knives on Instagram. You'll be blown away. So Gerald gave me one of his old faithful knives that have done many adventures. So I may end up taking that in with me. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. It's a little bit heavier than the other knives I've got, but it's got history and it's a gift and I like it. So we'll see. What else have I got? rifles. So yeah, like I said before, I don't know which one I'll take him, but most likely it'll be the 300 Win Mag, the Bergara Mountain 2.0, and that's got a VX5 on it, and it's suppressed. So yeah, I got faith in that rifle, so most likely I'll be taking that. I'm not going to take a spotting scope. Everything's going to be pretty close range, you know, within a couple hundred yards at the most. So yeah, like my binos will do what I need a spotting scope to do, plus I'll have the big camera with the big lens. So yeah, I'm not going to take a spotting scope. It's just it'll overload me with weight, and yeah, it's unnecessary for this particular close range hunt. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably, can't think of anything else gear wise. There'll be something. The pack's going to be full as anything, but yeah, I'll be having my camp on my back, so all my food will be in there, everything will be in there, and I'll be walking. I'll be walking with it all. So obviously the weight is a big thing. If I can keep the weight down, it's going to be good. I guess that sort of brings me up to the plan. So the plan is I'll set up base camp straight away in the rain, because that rain front's coming through, so I'd most likely be in the rain. Whether or not I stay there that night, I'm not sure, and let the rain pass. We'll just see how heavy the rain is. But then if I do stay there, say the next morning, so Sunday morning, I will leave base camp with all my gear packed already, and I will be on the journey. So I'm going upstream. I'm going to make my way through the gorge, which is going to be gnarly as anything. And I am going to slowly, very, very slowly, I'm not going to be calling. I'm hardly going to be calling, I should say. I'll probably do the odd call, but I'm going to be just basically like a little ninja cruising up in the shadows. I don't want anything to know I'm coming, or anything to know I'm in there. I'm hoping that the wind is going to be, if there's a dominant wind direction for the week, I'm hoping it's coming down the valley. But if there's not, I'll have to rethink my plans. But at least in the evenings and the mornings, I should have a pretty cool, hopefully a cool flow, thermal flow down the valley is what normally happens. So I'm going to be slowly making my way up the valley, and whenever I get to a spot where there's good sign, fresh tracks, fresh sign, good feed, you know, just a really good looking area, good clearing, good meadow where I can look over, I'm just going to sit up in there. I'm going to sit up back as far as I can where I can still see it, and I'm going to sit there, and I'm going to try and do an evening at each good spot. So, you know, I don't count mornings too much. Mornings are good and productive, but an evening to me is a make or break. Like, if something's going to be there, you're going to see it or you're going to hear it on the evening. The plan is I'm going to be spending an evening at each good spot. Now, if the rut really kicks off, so this big cold front that's moving up the country has, you know, it's shaping up to be really good for bringing on the rut next week. They won't be roaring so much over the year. They normally roar over where I'm going. They normally roar later than anywhere else. And because this cold weather's just gone through, it's almost setting this next week up to be the perfect week. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that it's going to come into the roar. I'm going to get a lot of those older dominant stags holding hinds early like they normally do. And then we'll get a lot of sort of stags on the prowl moving around. So there's going to be deer going everywhere, in my opinion. I think there's going to be a lot of activity, especially if no one's in there at the moment. And I'm hoping to intercept a lot of these roaming stags that are looking for hinds. Those are the ones I'm going to be able to hind call or roar into close range and get some cool footage. And, you know, obviously if it's a big one that I'm after, then we'll be trying to get them. But ideally, I think I'm going to be looking for the ones that are holding hinds, the dominant ones, the old mature animals. Yeah, they should definitely be roaring on the evenings. If they're not in the mornings, I mean, last year we didn't have much roaring in the morning. We had crazy roaring in the evenings. So it's going to be similar this year. Same time of year, the same sort of area. So I'm expecting the evenings are going to be the time where I want to be really sitting on those good spots. Yeah, and then, you know, once I've located good rutting action, I'm basically going to be sneaking in there without them knowing I'm coming, and I'm just going to be observing. And yeah, just get an idea of like what the stag that's the dominant stag looks like, and then obviously the satellite stags and the roaming stags that are coming through. I'll be checking them out as well. But yeah, ideally I don't want anything to know I'm in there. I want to be just moving through the shadows. Hopefully the wind allows me to do that. Oh, I'm going to have a little wind checker as well. You know, the little wind checker that I normally carry, little powder puff thing. I forget the brand of that, but I think every hunting and fishing store has them. I've seen them in all of them. But anyway, that just sits in my little bino harness. So that's the plan, man. I think I'm gonna hunt my way up the river. I'm gonna hunt all the clearings that I spent time on last time. There's one particular area that we found that you can actually climb out of the river bed, get up onto a terrace that's about 100 meters up, or maybe 70 meters up, and it actually overlooks a whole lot of these big clearings. We didn't really find that out until too late last time, but if I can get up there without the wind interfering with things, that might be a really cool spot to sit, and potentially I could sit up there and watch the clearings for over evening. I could even camp up on the terrace up there somewhere and be elevated. That's going to be cool, so hopefully I can do that. I don't know if I'm going to climb the tree like we did last time, because it's going to be difficult for me to film by myself and shoot out of the tree. I'm going to have a tripod, so a tripod's not really going to sit in a tree all that well, as you can imagine. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but I'll probably just set up at ground level and hunt that last clearing that way. And then, all going well, if the river level's dropped enough, all going well, I will be going further than we ever did last time, and I want to cross the river and get into some of this other country. There's just a huge area of open country. There's wallows all through it. It looks incredible. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to get up there. It all depends on if the river's low enough to cross, because I have to cross that river. So we'll come to that when we come to that. But that's another goal of mine, to get there, because I really want to get there and check it out. Yeah, man, so that's it. And then I think I'll give myself, depending how far up I go, obviously I've got to remember I need to get back by a particular time for the helicopter. So that's going to dictate how far I can go as well. And I guess also the success I've had leading up to that point. If I'm going to shoot something, it's only going to be one animal, because I want to take out as much meat as I possibly can, and I'm going to be loaded up to the brim. I think, look forward to it, guys. This particular river, to just give you a little personal family inside note, our daughter, 8 weeks old now, her name is River Autumn Edlington. Rivery Autumn Edlington, but River for short. And her name is the inspiration to get her name comes from a spot identical to where I'm going. So it's a super special spot for me and for Catherine. Just picture this, the most beautiful mountain river you've ever seen. Big meadows on each side, big beach, forest, big green forest running right down to the edge of these meadows, and then the forest slowly inclining up to mountaintops. So just think about that for a second. That is where we get the inspiration. A beautiful mountain valley is where we get the inspiration for our daughter River, where her names come from. So and autumn, special time of the year for us, potentially when River was conceived in the Raw last year. May as well, stags are going hundy, may as well join them. So too much information probably. But so that's pretty cool. And that's like a little inside thing. We don't really make that public, but that's, now you know. I'll tell you guys, because you guys are big supporters of mine and Catherine's, and I think, it's a pretty special thing. So guys, this podcast, man, hopefully it's going all right. I'm literally just talking. I've got no notes. I'm literally just talking, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I want to do many more of these. I think, like I said earlier, I want to do podcasts on experiences. I want to talk about a hunt that's just happened, and maybe do a podcast on a hunt that's coming up, and what we expect and what we hope and stuff, and then recap it as soon as we get out, so it's all fresh, all the experience. I want you guys to be able to join us in detail on these adventures. And a podcast, you're going to get more information out of a podcast than you are on a video or an article or anything. So it's just another way I want to bring back to you guys and just get you involved with what we're doing. Hopefully it's enjoyable. Hopefully it's been exciting to listen to. hopefully my voice hasn't really just put you off because it's just about disappearing. But I think once I'm in there, 2 or 3 days in, I'll probably do another podcast, which will be part 2 to this first little hunt. And it'll be recapping what's happened the first 2 or 3 days of the trip. What I've found, how it's gone, the good, the bad, what I've learned, it'll be recapping in detail. I'll probably do it in my tent, so that'll be cool. And then obviously I'll probably do another one at the end of it, either when I get out or while I'm waiting for the helicopter, I don't know, but I'll do a recap of what happened after that. You guys will end up with an in-depth rundown of the hunt, and hopefully you can feel like you're joining me on the experience. That's the goal. So that's where we want to go with these podcasts, man. We'll be doing experience hunts, like in-depth on the hunt. We'll be talking about what's happened and stuff, and then also the big fishing trips, the big topwater kingfish trips. I'll probably be doing some of those as well, those are always exciting. So yeah, I personally like to listen to a podcast where they talk about a particular hunt. Like I'm listening to Mark Kenyon's Wired to Hunt. So Mark, if you listen to this, man, you're doing an awesome job. I'm really enjoying your whitetail hunts on Wired to Hunt, and yeah, I want to be doing experience recaps similar to the ones I like to listen to. So yeah, you guys can expect to hear big breakdowns on hunts on this channel, J.U. Wilds Podcast. We need to come up with a name. Maybe help me think of a name. What do I call it? J.U. Wilds Podcast, or we call it the J.U. Wilds Experience, or is that copying Joe Rogan? I don't know, but anyway, you guys can probably help me. So I might wrap it up. Probably missed a lot of things, but if you're about to go for your own raw hunt, all the best of luck. Hopefully it's a success for you, and hopefully it goes well and you have a good time. I'd love to hear from it. I'd love to see a photo, so send a photo through to Instagram, J.U. Wilds, and good luck for your own adventures, guys, and we'll talk to you on the next one, I guess. Talk to you in a few days. Thanks for listening.